This is Progress Culture.
The idea of permaculture is about creating systems that are regenerative. And if we want to create systems that are regenerative, that means we should be mimicking nature as much as possible, because evolution has figured out the most efficient systems over billions of years. It's silly for us to have so much hubris that we think we can figure out a better way. Let's just work with what nature's already doing and kind of, you know, it's like that Akido principle of just sort of moving energy, just kind of encouraging energy into a different direction. And so, you know, we can follow what nature wants to do, which is to turn grasslands into forests. And when that happens, we create the kinds of self-supporting systems that nature has already developed over the millions of years. And so the trees, the tree leaves fall every year, and that's your fertilizer, and that's your mulch, and that's your water retention. And you know, the berries and leaves and the insects attract different animals, and the animals put their poop into the garden. And so it becomes this like self-replicating, self-sustaining system.
So like this is part of the reason I think why I introduced you and the concept in this way, where it's like it's sort of going outside of modern practices or contemporary practices where we're trying to control so much. We're isolating these elements and in static situations and saying this is how this works, and we recreate those moments when they weren't necessarily how the natural phenomenon was occurring, and that happens.
So this is you're touching on what I was going to ask you, which is, where along the way did we decide we knew everything? I'm trying to figure that out.
But that's I think.
When did that shift take place? Because I'm like, wait a second. For tens of thousands of years, this worked.
Right.
I don't.
And even 100 years ago, there wasn't a grocery store in this country.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing. And like, I think a lot of people kind of point towards post World War II. We had this kind of like rapidly expanding kind of series of technological breakthroughs that were happening, and this very rapid deepening of our understanding of chemistry and being able to break things down into their chemical elements and say, okay, you know, we can utilize this new understanding that we have of chemistry and apply it in a way that gives us an advantage towards food production. And so the military interests shifted their focus from producing chemicals for war to producing chemicals for agriculture.
This is something too, though, that would extend further back, I think, in the most recent memory of humanity into the Enlightenment and the Scientific Revolution, where we began to have a stronger desire to control our environments. I mean, you know, we cut through, the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal. We're looking to exert our will on how things should be, as opposed to doing this thing that's more like assimilating the knowledge and energy around us in the ways that we can utilize it for our benefit without depleting and diminishing. But that was something that in that time, in the Enlightenment and the Scientific Revolution, it wasn't in our brains like that. That was a pendulum swing from blind faith and religion and such, where people were on a backlash from that. And they were going, no, it's empirical, it's ability to be defined. When you just throw it out there and it's left up to chance, this is where swindling happens and that sort of thing. And that's where everybody sort of grabbed onto having been swindled so much by the lords and vassals or the wizards and the witches, or not to say that they were all that way, but you know, this is a common practice, and so everybody went, we need to get a little bit further away from that. And now we're swinging back up into this so much control that we're depleting, I think. So it was a thing that came from, because when the guy that talked at the permaculture design course thing said that the agriculture 12,000 years ago started to shift that way. But I think we see a heightened variety of it across the board, probably even further back than that.